Every one of us, at some point, feels like life is spinning out of control. Maybe it's a lost job, a broken relationship, or just the chaotic pace of daily routines. That overwhelming feeling of helplessness, like you're stuck in a storm with no shelter. Sound familiar? Now, what if I told you there's a way to not just survive these challenges, but to thrive amidst them? To find peace even when the world feels like it's falling apart? That's exactly what Seneca, one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers, can teach us. But before we dive into his wisdom, let's take a moment to understand who Seneca was. Born in 4 BC in Cordoba, Spain, Lucius Annaeus Seneca was a man who lived through extraordinary highs and devastating lows. He wasn't just a philosopher. He was a playwright, a statesman, and an advisor to one of Rome's most infamous emperors, Nero. Seneca's life was anything but easy. As a young man, he suffered from chronic illness, which he later said taught him the value of endurance. He was exiled to Corsica for 8 years under Emperor Claudius. But instead of crumbling, Seneca used his exile to write and reflect, laying the foundation for his Stoic philosophy. Later, he was called back to Rome to tutor the young Nero. For a time, Seneca was one of the most powerful men in the empire, guiding Nero in the early years of his reign. But as Nero's rule grew increasingly tyrannical, Seneca found himself caught in a dangerous web of politics and power. Eventually, he was forced to retire, and in 65 AD, Nero accused him of conspiring in a plot to assassinate him. Seneca was ordered to take his own life. Even in his final moments, Seneca demonstrated the Stoic principles he preached. Facing death, he remained calm, composed, and in control of his emotions. His last words to his friends were, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." Seneca's life was a testament to the power of Stoicism. He faced exile, betrayal, and death with unwavering resilience. And through his writings, letters, essays, and plays, he left behind a treasure trove of wisdom on how to live a life of virtue, peace, and mental toughness. By the end of this video, you'll have a toolkit of Stoic principles to help you navigate life's storms with grace and strength. Whether you're facing a personal crisis, a professional setback, or just the everyday chaos of modern life, Seneca's wisdom will show you how to stay grounded. And hey, if you're finding value in this, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button. It helps us keep bringing content like this to you. Now, let's get started. Lesson 1. Focus on one activity. Let's start with one of Seneca's most powerful lessons. To be everywhere is to be nowhere. Think about that for a moment. In today's world, we're constantly pulled in a dozen directions at once. We're answering emails while scrolling social media, attending Zoom meetings while planning dinner, and somehow expecting to do it all perfectly. But here's the truth. Multitasking is a myth. Seneca understood this thousands of years ago. He believed that spreading our attention across too many tasks not only makes us less effective, but also robs us of the depth and quality that come from true focus. In one of his letters to his friend Lucilius, he wrote, "You must be careful in your reading as in eating, to avoid flitting from one thing to another. Otherwise, you may retain nothing." So, what does this mean for us today? It means that if you're trying to write a report while texting your friend and watching TV, you're not really doing any of those things well. Your brain isn't wired to handle multiple complex tasks at once. Instead, it switches rapidly between them, leaving you exhausted and unproductive. Here's the science behind it. Your brain doesn't actually multitask. What it does is task switch. Every time you shift your attention from one task to another, your brain has to reorient itself. This process, called cognitive switching, consumes energy and slows you down. Studies in neuroscience show that frequent task switching increases the production of cortisol, the stress hormone, and depletes glucose, the brain's primary energy source. Over time, this can lead to mental fatigue, reduced productivity, and even burnout. Think about it. When was the last time you gave your full attention to just one thing? Not half-heartedly, not while distracted, But truly focused? That's where the magic happens. When you focus on one activity at a time, you're able to dive deeper, think more clearly, and produce better results. On the flip side, when you focus on one task, your brain enters a state called flow. In this state, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and problem-solving, works at its peak efficiency. Research shows that flow states increase the production of dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter, which not only boosts your mood but also enhances creativity and focus. This is why you feel so energized and satisfied after a period of deep, uninterrupted work. Seneca's advice isn't just about productivity, it's about peace. When you're fully present in what you're doing, you're not worrying about the past or stressing about the future. You're grounded in the moment, and that's where true satisfaction comes from. Here's how you can apply this lesson in your life. 1. Eliminate distractions. Turn off notifications, close unnecessary tabs, and create a quiet workspace. Studies show that even the anticipation of a distraction, like a phone buzzing, can reduce cognitive performance by up to 20%. 2. Set clear priorities. Decide what's most important and tackle that first. Neuroscientific research reveals that prioritizing tasks reduces decision fatigue, allowing your brain to conserve energy for deep work. 3. Practice deep work. Dedicate uninterrupted blocks of time to a single task. Even 25 minutes of focused work, like the Pomodoro technique, can trigger dopamine release, making you feel accomplished and motivated to continue. Seneca's wisdom reminds us that life isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters and doing it well. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed, remember, to be everywhere is to be nowhere. Choose one thing, give it your full attention, and watch how much more you can achieve and how much calmer you'll feel. Lesson 2. Practice philosophy to control your impulses. Have you ever sent a text in anger and immediately regretted it? Or made a snap decision that led to consequences you couldn't take back? We've all been there. Seneca once said, "All the greatest torments are the result of an undisciplined mind." And he was right. Our impulses, those quick, emotional reactions, can often lead us astray, causing pain for ourselves and others. But here's the good news. Stoicism doesn't ask us to suppress our emotions. Instead, it teaches us to understand and manage them. Seneca believed that by practicing philosophy, by reflecting on our thoughts and actions, we can gain control over our impulses and respond to life's challenges with wisdom and clarity. Let's break this down with some science. When you feel an intense emotion, like anger, fear, or frustration, your amygdala, the brain's emotional center, goes into overdrive. This triggers the fight-or-flight response, flooding your body with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. In this state, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking and decision-making, gets sidelined. That's why, in the heat of the moment, it's so hard to think clearly. But here's where Stoicism comes in. By pausing and reflecting before reacting, you give your prefrontal cortex a chance to catch up. This simple act of delay can help you respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Think about how often impulsive reactions harm our relationships or decision-making. A harsh word spoken in anger can damage trust. A rash decision made under pressure can lead to regret. Seneca understood this deeply. He wrote, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." By creating space between stimulus and response, we can choose how we want to act, rather than being controlled by our emotions. Here's the science behind pausing. When you take a moment to breathe and reflect, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which counteracts the fight-or-flight response. Deep breathing, for example, increases oxygen flow to your brain and stimulates the vagus nerve, helping you feel calmer and more in control. This physiological shift allows your prefrontal cortex to re-engage, giving you the clarity to make better decisions. Here's how you can apply Seneca's wisdom in your life, backed by science. 1. Pause and breathe. When you feel an emotional surge, take 3 deep breaths. This simple act can lower cortisol levels and give your brain a chance to reset. 2. Ask yourself questions. Before reacting, ask, is this response helpful? Will I regret this later? This engages your prefrontal cortex and helps you think more rationally. 3. Create a habit of reflection. At the end of each day, reflect on moments when you reacted impulsively. What triggered you? How could you respond differently next time? This practice strengthens your self-awareness and emotional regulation over time. Seneca's lesson isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming the master of your emotions. When you practice philosophy to control your impulses, you're not just avoiding regret. You're building a life of intention, clarity, and peace. Lesson 3. Stay prepared. Life is unpredictable. One day, everything seems fine, and the next you're hit with a curveball, a job loss, a financial crisis, or even a personal setback. It's easy to feel overwhelmed when the unexpected happens. But what if you could prepare yourself mentally for these challenges before they even occur? That's exactly what Seneca's practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, is all about. Seneca believed that by imagining the worst-case scenarios, we could reduce their emotional impact when they actually happen. This isn't about being pessimistic. It's about being prepared. As he wrote, the person who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive. Here's the science behind this practice. When you mentally rehearse challenging situations, you activate your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning and problem-solving. This helps you create a mental map of how to handle the situation, reducing the fear and uncertainty that typically trigger the amygdala, your brain's fear center. Studies show that this kind of mental rehearsal can lower cortisol levels and increase feelings of control, making you more resilient in the face of adversity. Think about how this applies to modern life. Imagine you're worried about losing your job. Instead of letting that fear paralyze you, you could mentally rehearse what you do next. Update your resume, network with colleagues, or explore new career paths. By doing this, you're not just reducing anxiety, you're also equipping yourself with a plan of action. This practice isn't just theoretical. It's used by athletes, performers, and even surgeons to prepare for high-pressure situations. When you visualize a challenge and mentally walk through your response, your brain creates neural pathways that make it easier to execute that plan in real life. This is why mental rehearsal is so powerful. It primes your brain to handle stress more effectively. Here's how you can apply Seneca's wisdom in your life. 1. Identify potential challenges. Think about the worst-case scenarios in your personal or professional life. What would you do if you lost your job, faced a financial crisis, or experienced a health scare? 2. Mentally rehearse your response. Visualize yourself handling these situations calmly and effectively. Imagine the steps you'd take and the resources you'd use. 3. Create a contingency plan. Write down your action steps. Having a tangible plan reduces uncertainty and gives you a sense of control. 4. Reflect on past resilience. Remind yourself of times when you've overcome challenges before. This builds confidence and reinforces your ability to handle future difficulties. Seneca's practice of premeditatio malorum isn't about dwelling on the negative. It's about empowering yourself to face life's uncertainties with courage and clarity. As he said, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. By staying prepared, you're not just surviving life's challenges, you're thriving through them. Lesson 4. Voluntarily embrace hardships. Think about the last time you did something that made you uncomfortable. Maybe it was speaking in public, taking on a challenging project, or even just saying no to something you didn't want to do. That discomfort you felt, it wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a sign of growth. Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body," and he was absolutely right. Seneca believed that voluntarily embracing hardships, stepping out of our comfort zones, was essential for building mental toughness. It's not about seeking suffering for its own sake, but about recognizing that growth often comes from discomfort. As he wrote, "The path to wisdom is not paved with ease, but with challenges." Here's the science behind this idea. When you voluntarily face discomfort, your brain adapts. Challenging situations activate your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for problem-solving and decision-making. Over time, this strengthens neural connections, making you better equipped to handle stress and adversity. Additionally, facing small hardships triggers the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that promotes the growth of new neurons and enhances cognitive resilience. Think about how this applies to modern life. If you're afraid of public speaking, volunteering to give a presentation at work can feel terrifying, but it's also an opportunity to grow. If you're used to a life of convenience, choosing to live more simply, cooking at home instead of ordering takeout or decluttering your space, can teach you discipline and gratitude. These small, voluntary hardships build mental muscle, preparing you for life's bigger challenges. Here's another fascinating aspect. When you face discomfort, your body releases cortisol, the stress hormone. In small doses, cortisol isn't harmful. It actually helps you stay focused and energized. By voluntarily exposing yourself to manageable stress, you train your body to handle cortisol more effectively. This is why people who regularly step out of their comfort zones, whether through exercise, cold showers, or challenging work, tend to be more resilient in the face of unexpected stress. Here's how you can apply Seneca's wisdom in your life, backed by science. 1. Start small. Choose one area where you can step out of your comfort zone. It could be as simple as waking up 30 minutes earlier or having a difficult conversation you've been avoiding. 2. Embrace physical challenges. Try a new workout, take cold showers, or go for a hike in uncomfortable weather. These activities train your body and mind to handle stress. 3. Practice public speaking. Join a group like Toastmasters or volunteer to present at work. Each time you speak, you'll build confidence and reduce fear. 4. Live simply. Declutter your home, cook your meals, or spend a day without technology. These small acts of discipline strengthen your mental resilience. Seneca's lesson is clear. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. By voluntarily embracing hardships, you're not just building mental toughness. You're preparing yourself to face life's inevitable challenges with courage and grace. As he said, the bravest sight in the world is to see a great man struggling against adversity. You don't have to be a great man or woman to start. Just someone willing to take the first step. Lesson 5. Avoid self-victimization. Have you ever felt like life is unfair? Like everyone else has it easier, and you're the only one struggling? It's a natural feeling, but here's the truth. We often suffer more in our minds than in reality. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And this insight is at the heart of avoiding self-victimization. Self-victimization is the habit of seeing yourself as a passive victim of circumstances. It's the mindset that says, "Why is this happening to me?" instead of, "What can I learn from this?" Seneca believed that this way of thinking traps us in a cycle of helplessness and prevents us from growing. But when we shift our perspective, we reclaim our power and open the door to resilience and growth. Here's the science behind this. When you dwell on negative thoughts, like, "Why is this happening to me?" your amygdala, the brain's fear center, goes into overdrive. This triggers a stress response, flooding your body with cortisol and making it harder to think clearly. But when you reframe the situation, asking, "What can I learn from this?" you activate your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for problem-solving and rational thinking. This shift not only reduces stress, but also helps you find solutions and opportunities for growth. Think about how this applies to modern life. Imagine you've just lost your job. It's easy to fall into the trap of self-victimization, blaming the economy, your boss, or even yourself. But what if, instead, you saw this as an opportunity? What if you use this time to learn new skills, explore a passion, or even start your own business? This shift in perspective doesn't change the situation, but it changes how you experience it. And that makes all the difference. Reframing isn't just a philosophical idea. It's a scientifically proven way to improve mental health. Studies show that people who practice cognitive reframing, changing how they interpret events, experience lower levels of anxiety and depression. This is because reframing helps break the cycle of negative thinking and creates new neural pathways in the brain, making it easier to see challenges as opportunities rather than threats. Here's how you can apply Seneca's wisdom in your life. 1. Pause and reflect. When something goes wrong, take a moment to breathe and observe your thoughts. Are you falling into a victim mindset? 2. Ask better questions. Instead of, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I learn from this? Or, how can I grow from this situation? 3. Practice gratitude. Write down 3 things you're grateful for, even in difficult times. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's wrong to what's right, reducing stress and improving mood. 4. Seek the lesson. Every challenge has a lesson. Reflect on what this experience is teaching you about yourself, your strengths, and your values. Seneca's lesson is a powerful reminder. We can't always control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. By avoiding self-victimization and reframing challenges as opportunities, we reclaim our power and open ourselves to growth. As Seneca said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Lesson 6. Spend time in solitude. In a world that's always connected, where notifications buzz endlessly and screens demand our attention, it's easy to lose touch with ourselves. Seneca once advised, retire into yourself as much as possible. He understood that solitude isn't about isolation. It's about reconnecting with your inner voice and finding clarity in the chaos. Solitude, in the Stoic sense, is a sanctuary. It's a space where you can step away from the noise of the world and reflect on your thoughts, values, and goals. Seneca believed that this practice was essential for living a life of purpose and peace. But in today's hyperconnected world, solitude has become a rare luxury, and that's costing us more than we realize. Here's the science behind why solitude matters. When you're constantly connected, checking emails, scrolling social media, or binge-watching shows, your brain is in a state of perpetual stimulation. This overactivity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and focus, can lead to mental fatigue, stress, and even burnout. Studies show that chronic overstimulation reduces the brain's ability to process information effectively and impairs emotional regulation. Think about how this plays out in your life. When was the last time you sat alone with your thoughts, without distractions? For many of us, the idea of solitude feels uncomfortable because we're so used to being plugged in, but without moments of quiet reflection, we risk losing touch with who we are and what truly matters to us. Here's the good news. Solitude has profound benefits for your brain and mental health. When you spend time alone, your brain enters a state called the default mode network, DMN. This is when your brain processes emotions, consolidates memories, and generates creative ideas. Research shows that activating the DMN through solitude can reduce stress, improve focus, and enhance self-awareness. It's like hitting the reset button for your mind. Here's how you can apply Seneca's wisdom in your life. 1. Unplug daily. Set aside 15 to 30 minutes each day to disconnect from technology. Turn off your phone, step away from screens, and sit in silence. 2. Journal your thoughts. Use this time to reflect on your day, your goals, and your values. Writing helps clarify your thoughts and deepen self-awareness. 3. Practice mindfulness. Spend a few minutes focusing on your breath or observing your surroundings. Mindfulness reduces stress and helps you stay present. 4. Take a solo walk. Walking alone in nature, even for 10 minutes, can boost creativity and improve mood by reducing cortisol levels. Seneca's advice to retire into yourself isn't about escaping the world. It's about finding the clarity and strength to engage with it more fully. In solitude, you rediscover your inner compass, the values that guide you, and the peace that comes from knowing yourself deeply. As Seneca said, nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. Stoicism doesn't promise an easy life. It equips you with the tools to face challenges with courage and resilience. These lessons aren't just philosophical ideas. They're practical strategies you can use every day to build mental toughness and live with intention. Now it's your turn. Start small. Pick one lesson that resonates with you and apply it this week. Maybe it's focusing on one task without distractions, or taking 10 minutes each day to sit in solitude and reflect. Share your experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear how these lessons are helping you grow. As we wrap up, let's leave you with one of Seneca's most powerful reminders. It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. Life will always have challenges, but with Stoic principles as your guide, you'll face them with courage, clarity, and resilience. If you found value in this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on new content that helps you grow, thrive, and live with purpose. Your support means the world to me and helps keep this channel going. Until then, take care of yourself, practice these Stoic principles, and remember, the journey to wisdom is a lifelong adventure. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.